appreciate you joining us and taking the time out of your Saturday night to join us. I'd love to just hear in chat, if you're in lockdown, what's the first thing you're going to do once you get out of lockdown? So leave us a bit of a message and just let us know.
I've always wondered if there was something weird about my brain. My name is Sarah Poller, and I live with anxiety. I'm here to find out how anxiety affects people across the country. What I need is to talk to people. And what kinds of things we can do about it. Let's put together.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for everyone for joining us tonight. We'll get started in about 5 minutes or so. But in the meantime, if you want to jump on chat, if you can find it, and let us know what the first thing is you're going to do once you get out of lockdown, if you are in lockdown. There's a few good ones already. Get a haircut, go on an overseas holiday. I'm one of those people that definitely doesn't need a haircut, so I'll be fine. But I'm definitely going to go and sit in a cafe and have a nice time away from the kids and enjoy the cafe. Good to see some familiar faces back again this week. Thank you. Right, if you're just joining us, thank you so much for joining us on another Saturday night for a live webinar. We'll get started in about 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you for taking time out of your Saturday night to join us. If you're in lockdown, I'd just love to hear in chat, what's the first thing you're going to do once you finally get out of lockdown?
Hi, Andrew.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Yep. Hope you're well.
Yeah, going well. Good to see you again. Thank you for joining us on another Saturday night.
Yes. Hopefully this is our last week of lockdown.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, and toes.
Let's hope a change of leadership doesn't change our path out of lockdown.
Yeah, it's hope so.
All right, we've got a lot more people joining us now, so thank you so much for joining us and spending your Saturday night with Nissi Filters. We appreciate you taking the time to sign on. We'll get started in about 2 minutes. If you're just joining us, we'd love to hear what you're going to do when you finally get out of lockdown, if you're in lockdown. So find the chat box and leave us a little note just to tell us what you're going to do. Someone's said it's going to be so much of a shock they're not going to know what to do with themselves. I've got a whole list of things I can't wait to do. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We've just had a few more people join in. Thanks for spending your Saturday night with Nissi. We will get kicked off in a minute or two. If you're just joining us and you're in lockdown, please let us know in chat what the first thing is you're going to do once lockdown's over.
I'll tell you what, if we didn't have a fair amount of cloud cover in Victoria, you might be losing a few people off here chasing the Southern Lights.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the warnings have just come through that
Okay.
potentially you would see things through to Victoria. The Ballarat, where I am, is of course has 100% cloud cover at the moment. So
Really? It's
I think
always
a
the
lot
way.
of Tassie has it too. So they may be getting a decent display down there.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed someone gets it tonight and we get to see some cool photos.
Yeah, hopefully there will be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not running outside, heading 15, 20 minutes south of here if there's 100% cloud cover.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. All right. Well, I think we might look at getting kicked off just after 8. All right. Well, once again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us for another Saturday night. Fingers crossed, we're going to all be out of lockdown soon, and you'll have something better to do on Saturday nights than join us. But while we're here, thank you so much for taking time out of your night and signing in and joining us for another webinar. Now, tonight we've got a very awesome photographer that we're going to hear from. Glenn McKimmin is an amazing guy. He runs so many amazing businesses in the photo industry. If you don't know, he runs a printing business called Created for Life, which is one of the absolute best printing, framing places that you can go to. So many photographers that have galleries and that get prints done use Glenn's business Created for Life to actually get them printed. He does all the shipping as well. I'm sure he'll tell you a little bit about it tonight. So highly recommended. I've got a few prints from there as well. Absolutely amazing. And if you happen to visit over the previous few years, Aperture Conference that was in Darling Harbour, Glenn was also responsible for putting all of that together. An absolute amazing task to bring so many amazing photographers together for the purpose basically just to share with other photographers so other photographers can learn. So you can obviously see that Glenn's also got an amazing heart for sharing knowledge with other people, and he also does that through his workshops. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from Glenn tonight, and I think we're in for a treat. So Glenn, I might hand over to you if you want to start sharing the screen and take over.
Sure, I'll just jump on. Hey everyone, I will. They're clicked. Good.
And just a reminder, everyone, if you can just mute yourself while Glenn's talking as well. If you've got any questions, you can just put them in chat, and there'll be some time after the presentation to ask live questions.
Cool. You good?
Good to go.
All right. Cool. Welcome everyone. As Andrew said, my name's Glenn. I've been in and around the industry for quite a few years, so it's a tricky thing to talk about business and photography because I know a lot of you, it's hard to know where you're at. I can't see you to start with, but if I could, I'd probably get a better idea. But this is not going to be covered to like weddings and portraits per se, because I'm predominantly a landscape guy, but I have worked in those industries. So some of the stuff that I mentioned will probably be relevant to many genres within the photographic industry. But what I'm really trying to get across to you guys is some key factors to look at if you do want to get into starting a business, and some things to look for. You'll make heaps of mistakes because I've made them all, and I continue to, but that's the good thing about this industry. In any business you start, your best way to learn is to make mistakes. So what I'll do first is I'll just talk a bit about who I am, Andrew said a little bit about those things. I'll sort of recap that, and I'll show you a few little videos just to get you to, so you can see a bit more about the businesses that I run. So basically my story is, I get this one out of the road early. Ken Duncan's my uncle. So I had a very, very, very lucky start into this industry. So I got to travel with him for 4 years. I was around about 4 years off and on. I was his assistant. And I learned more in that period of time about commitment to this industry and the running of a business, and having how important a team of people are in business than, you know, any degree or any course or being part of any group or body would ever teach me. So I'm forever grateful for that, and it sort of gave me a really good foundation into what photography actually is. After I sort of finished working for him, I was trying to play. I wasn't never going to be a wallaby, but I was trying very hard for a long time. And so I travelled around playing rugby a bit, and I realised that wasn't going to happen. I needed something else. So I worked for Ken, and then I moved into sort of, I love photography so much, just fell in love with it instantly. And I started basically a little business called Fotoworkshops, which was trying to teach people like basically 2-hour courses on portraits and basic landscape stuff. But why I did that, it was all around the time that Groupon and all that coupon thing started, and I just got in at the right time and killed it on a couple of little deals with Groupon, doing some sessions, and the business grew from there. And we all have one of those pivotal moments in life where you really have to assess what you're doing and maybe put your big boy pants on and grow up. And unfortunately, my sister committed suicide, and 3 days later, I found out I was going to be a dad. So I had the full yin and the yang of life hit me fair in the face, and had to sort of grow up very quickly, even though I was pretty old anyway, but I had to grow up, and I had to either, you know, life was going to go one way or the other, really. So I decided it was time just to, you know, believe in myself and the things I wanted to do. And literally, I don't really, if I swear or say bad language, I apologise now, but, you know, I don't really fear failing at all. I try lots of things. Some work, some don't. You know, you piss people off sometimes, and that's just the nature of being in business, I think, sometimes. So after that happened, then I was lucky enough, Pam and Ken, my auntie and uncle, they started a business called Creative for Life 30-something years ago, about 30 years ago. That business they wanted to get out of, it came up for sale, so I bought it. And then, so I had the printing and framing company, and then took that over, and we tried to, you know, change it a little bit. There was nothing wrong with it. They'd done an amazing job, and Ken started that originally because basically he couldn't get the quality prints he wanted in Australia anywhere, so he decided to start his own business so he could get the quality that he needed to sell and do what he was doing. So I had that, and then kept going on, and I'll explain a bit more about these things. And then, you know, in 2017, I founded the Aperture Australia Conference as well. So, and again, I'll go through. So these are the businesses that I run at the moment. So I'll say I'm a photographer, but, you know, I'm under no illusions. Like I'm not by any means thinking my photos are the best in the world, or, you know, but I love what I do. People like it and they put it on their walls, and that's really all I care about. Like, my work doesn't really win awards, and I'll talk about that stuff later. I'm not big on that whole side of things. So here I've got my personal brand, which I have a gallery. So I have a physical space that I sell work out of. It's my third gallery, this one. So I've learnt lots along the way about how to run them. Again, the first two were good. They did okay. I made money, made them work. This one's on another level because I've learned so many things about what went wrong and what went right. So And then obviously I've just explained I got Creative for Life, which is the printing and framing company. Fotoworkshops, which is now one of the biggest luxury photographic tour companies in Australia. Santa Photos, I don't put my name on that, but I got frustrated when my son was born. He's 10 now. And I was going to shopping centres lining up to get photos done. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Like, you don't have a booking, you turn up and you just wait in a line. The kids peek out, the parents get angry. And most of the time the photos, like people, not looking, or, which I like them, they're cool too. But so anyway, long story short, I found this location at my uncle's, luckily at beachfront property here at North of Oka, and I make this custom-made set, and I've built it up to 5-minute time slots. I do it a month every year. As I say, I don't put my name on it, not for any other reason than I just don't really want to be the Santa photographer guy. But last year I did 900 families in a month. So it's lucrative. It's smart in terms of how we created it, and I'll tell you how I market it, and I'll tell you what I spent on the marketing later, and I'll tell you not what I turn over, but I'll give you an idea. And if things are done good, and you can find a little niche within market, sometimes you can actually really kill it. And I'll talk a bit more about that later. And then the conference, so I started the Aperture Australia conference as well. So that's obviously, so I lost, as soon as COVID hit, instantly I lost Fotoworkshops and Aperture immediately, which was 60% of my income overnight. So we've had to pivot and change and do some different things. And at any point in time, I've probably got between 7 and 10 staff that work across the companies for me at the moment, which is enough for me. I've got 5 really good core ones, and then we call on other people depending on when things are happening. So so that's that. So I'm going to play you a video now. I usually get this out of the way early. I'm sorry if any of you don't use Fuji, but you will know, knowing me, that Fuji is the best camera company in the world. No, I'm only joking. But this video was done by Fuji about my photography, and inadvertently sort of obviously selling a camera. So as long as you know that, we're clear. But I do talk about the reasons I take photos and why I'm doing it. So I'll play this. So if you've got sound, you should be able to hear this. And then after that, I'll have another chat to you. So here we go.
When I'm out taking photographs, I actually feel like I'm in total control. I don't have to be anyone. I don't have to be anything to anyone. I can just be myself, be present in the environment. And I'm in control in that I am trying to create something that reflects who I am and where I am. I choose the cameras, I choose the lens, I choose the aperture, I choose the shutter speed. If the light's shifting, if the wind picks up, if it starts raining, whatever happens, it doesn't matter. It's having the patience and the know-how to see it through. And I think that's what the lessons in life have taught me. You have to feel and look and allow yourself the time to actually connect with the environment. The Fujifilm system has taken my photography to a new level. I've now got the ability to do huge prints with such incredible detail. I use the GFX 100 and the Fujinon lenses, the 32 to 64mm. It's wide enough for me to get beautiful landscape images. The 45 to 100mm is probably one of the sharpest lenses I think Fuji has brought out. It's versatile, it gets me in close in the scenes that I need to be in close, and it's not super wide so that I can do some fantastic portraiture travel shots as well. When you want to get detail in the landscape rather than the landscape itself, the 100 to 200 is absolutely brilliant. Being out in the environment, being out in nature, I don't know if there's a better way to connect to the things that I miss, to the things that are important to me, and to also create something really unique that gives me power. Losing my sister, my best friend, to suicide changed my life completely. I don't fear failure anymore. I'm not scared to take risks. The amount of times that I can feel that she is still with me, it gives me the ability to connect to where I am, to reconnect to the people that I miss, and to try and produce something that actually is an expression of how I might be feeling at any point in time.
That's one of the biggest things. We all got to find the why you do things. And if you do it for the right reasons and you do it because you love it, or you do it because something motivates you, then that's how you get yourself to a certain point. So that's why I take photos. Everyone's different. Some people do it purely for money. Other people do it as a hobby. I actually really love it. I love going out and doing it. It's floats my boat, so to speak. Now, here's another one. So this is, I'm just going to show you a couple of quick videos. So this is about Creative for Life. So Creative for Life, I think it is. Yeah, it is. So Creative for Life is a printing and framing company started by my uncle and auntie, so Ken Duncan and Pam Duncan, 30 years ago. It was and always has been associated with high quality. We're not a cheap print lab. We're not a cheap framing place. We are literally dealing with the best materials possible, archival quality products, and we service galleries, photographers, artists. We drop ship for them, and we pride ourselves on what we do. It's not, as I say, we're not cheap, but comparatively, we're not expensive either, depending on what you're looking at. But it's all about, for me, there's a saying in business that all boats rise with the high tide, and if photographers are all putting out quality work, then you all got to ask yourself the question: who's buying that work? The people that are buying it are the general public. So if you're not educating them, and if people are coming in cheap, then the general public are the buyer. Photographers don't buy your shit, so forget about them. It's people, the general public. So if they start seeing quality come out, and everyone's selling things at a certain price, that becomes a standard. So what we try to do is produce a quality of work that, when it comes from us, you know what you're getting. So this is a little video. There might be a dude in this with a man bun and a giant beard, and that was a phase. It's over. That was the first lockdown. I'm a pool cleaner now. I just have a moustache. So, but the lumberjack guy is in here somewhere, I think. So anyway, here we go. So that's still, Creative for Life still going great guns at the moment. Well, the last month has been a bit tricky. I think a lot of businesses this last month particularly. Out of the first lockdown, we were busier than we've ever been. Last year, this year's been tricky. So it was going fine till about a month ago, and I saw a significant decline, but it'll all turn around like everyone does, I guess. So as I mentioned earlier, photo workshops is another thing I do. As Andrew said, I love this industry. I love taking photos. I love sharing what I know. By no means this is what I know. I'm not saying I know everything, because I bloody sure as hell don't. I wish I did. It'd be good, wouldn't it? But I know a lot about this industry. I know a lot about photographers. I studied. When I first got into it, I learned about the paths, and I'll talk about that in a little while. But I love taking people on tours. I created Fotoworkshops, and it's a high-end luxury photographic tour company. So it's not a $200 a day thing. This is expensive. It's immersive. I take you to places, and I use other photographers that take people as well into locations that maybe other people aren't going to. I think we were the first Australian photographic tour company to go to Bhutan, Kamchatka. There's a certain part of the Holi Festival in India. We were one of the first to go there. So I have a guy called Terry Taylor, who's a lovely guy. He's become a very good friend of mine, and he helps me come up with places, or he comes up with these exotic locations, and always has. So we push the boundaries a bit in that sense. But when we do the tours, when I say they're immersive, they're always been about teaching you the photography side of stuff. But it's one thing to go to a country and take photos. It's a whole nother thing to actually immerse yourself in a culture and understand things a little bit better. So we try and include, the cuisines, alcohol, if it's and not to get loaded by any means, but just there's things that you can have, delicacies, all those sorts of things. So yeah, it's a full immersive experience. And we've grown that. Like in 2019, I was in 11 countries that year. 2020, last year I was supposed to be in even more. And I've brought on other photographers to run tours, so we sort of grew that fairly quickly, and hopefully deliver a pretty good service most of the time. So all of the time, I should say. And here's just a little video about that one. All right, then there was Aperture. So again, quickly, that was created, and this is for you people wanting to get into a business. So when I did Aperture, I also had the other things I was doing, but I had one sponsor, and I found a venue that it had to be in, which was the Convention Centre in Darling Harbour in the Piedmont Theatre. It's a 1,000-seat theatre, and I had this dream that I was going to sell the theatre out the first year, and it would be the biggest thing in the industry had seen. So I had one sponsor, which was the mighty Fuji. And then, you know, gradually others came on. Nishi were fantastic as well. And lots of the other companies came on. But the risk was real for me because it was financially to book that convention centre was, the deposit for a house basically for the weekend. So, but, you know, sometimes without that risk, a lot of people got a lot out of that thing. And it was never done to make money. It's not a money-making thing. I'd be quite transparent with the figures on that if anyone's interested, but it's definitely not about making money. It was about my generation getting off their ass and actually doing something about the industry and caring, because as far as I can see, they don't give a shit. They're more interested in how many likes they get on Instagram and Facebook than actually giving anything back to this industry. And, when I first started out, there was the AIPP meant something. There was, people in there like Eastway and David Oliver, Bruce Pottinger. The industry was an industry. It was a community. It was a collective. And, when I started Aperture, that all seemed to capitulate at some point. And the relevancy maybe dipped off when digital rose up. So I did this on a whim. It's no different starting any business, but it was a lot of fun. So the concept was to get 8 speakers the first year, and I picked 8 of the greatest Australian photographers that I could get. I paid them more than they'd been paid to speak for an hour. I looked after them. I did a deal with the Sofitel. They got to stay there. I put it in the best venue I could possibly find. And I tried to educate not photographers. See, the key is we're all focused on educating photographers all the time and educating each other and entering competitions to win awards. It's a load of shit. You don't need to do all that. What you need to think about, and the industry needed to do, in my opinion, was to educate the people that are buying the work, the people that are employing you to do a job. And that wasn't happening. So yes, I was doing an event to inspire photographers, and realised that if you listen to Ken Duncan or Eugene Can or Murray Fredericks or Megan Lewis or Alexia Sinclair, you might get something from that, and you might realise that you can make a go of it. But also we had lots of non-photographers come to these events who just wanted to hear great stories about the work. And that was the best thing for me, because that's what's all, it's trying to educate them. To get each other. Photographers always educate each other, and everyone's got opinion on everyone's work. We've all seen them walk into galleries, and they're the ones that put their nose right up against your print and tell you that it's not sharp or they've got a better angle of your shot. That's not what whilst that's good, and I love the education side, this particular thing, Aperture, was all about educating the general public and inspiring photographers. So it's twofold. So and I was very lucky. Ray Martin's, good mate of mine, and he's just a champion of a guy, and soul of the earth bloke. And he hosted it for me, which was a huge thing. To have someone like that come on board, that sort of gave us a giant amount of momentum. So and just to get Ray Martin intro someone is pretty cool. So I'll just play a quick video. This is just a highlight of the first year, and then we'll move straight into some more serious stuff.
And the bullets were going past my ears, and I don't know if you've ever heard the sickening sound of a high-pitched whirring bullet coming at you. It normally means you're close enough to die.
That when it comes to sports stars and film stars, to cartoonists and cinematographers these days, Australia fights well above its weight. I think it's the same with photography. We have some truly amazing talent amongst those who wield still cameras, as good as anyone in the world, but they don't often get recognised for how fantastic they are.
So when the Indonesians had shot this young fellow, they had the students had got him, and they had dragged his body, taken his body around the streets in protest. And they'd brought him to a hotel room. The next day, we went to the family's room. That's where his body had been, and those were his cousins grieving for him.
And I had a panic attack. Do I take the photograph? Or do I save the pygmy hippopotamus? So I took the photograph
and they rang me and said, the polar bear has left the other guys and is heading towards you. Don't sleep. Load your gun and fill your parka full of flares in case the gun jams. And then I went, oh, maybe there's no bullet in the chamber. And I went, yep, there's one there. And I went, better check again. Yep. All right, I'm ready. And I unzipped the thing, safety off, and I jumped out and I went, and there's a guy standing there, and I went, fuck!
And then the photographer goes, boom! And the thing just goes, totally smashed this thing like a banana. And everybody's running, and all I can remember is, and everybody's running out, and I just grabbed the 10-8 camera.
The interesting thing though is that through my career, I've never waited for someone to knock on my door. For me, I always thought, I'm never going to wait for someone to knock on my door. I'm always going to keep hustling. And that's the thing with freelancing, the hustle never stops. It just evolves over your career.
We decided to move to an acre of land, and the idea was to just build gardens and grow thousands of flowers there to build the next series. The challenge is to just shoot everything I possibly can myself. So if you see a lion in my work, you know that I've been in a cage and I've photographed the lion and the deer and the swan, and that's why they're in the work, is because I'm going out and freezing my bum off photographing butting deer.
And then all clear, the second van comes, the door opens, Will Smith comes out, comes in. One of the first things he says to me is, right, I want you to come with me to Lizard Island on my private jet for a week. Let's do it.
This is just about the biggest photographers conference that's ever been held in Australia.
Yeah, so it was. We were lucky. We got 670 people there the first year. So we literally were, in 1 year, were the biggest photographic conference in Australia ever. And now after the second year, the biggest in the Southern Hemisphere. And we're due to do another one, obviously last year, which was, I believe, was going to be down in Melbourne. It was going to be bigger than Ben-Hur. I had Anne Geddes and Franz Lanting, incredible lineup of speakers. But anyway, we'll do it again. Now, we'll move into a bit more serious sort of stuff. So I'm a big believer in the history of photography, and that's just, what I mean by that is, don't be ignorant to think that photography started 10 years ago when digital rose up. Photography's been going for a long time, and you'd be well served to go back and have a look at it. I'm going to talk just quickly about 3 photographers from the past and explain a couple of things about them. But you know, it's like any industry. If you educate yourself on where it started, you got a better idea of where we're at right now, and you understand that those things evolve and change. There's going to be a way it goes. If you can try and start to, you know, appreciate the gear you have and don't whinge about it, and appreciate the fact that we can print the way we can and all these other things now, it gives you a better understanding of the whole industry. So here's just 3. So 3, Henry Cartier-Bresson. You know, going through, you know, no one was doing sort of a photojournalistic approach to photography until Henry Cartier-Bresson came along and did a lot of stuff during Europe in the Second World War, candid street photography, and it was actually, you know, incredible. I've got some examples in a sec, but you should look him up. Ansel Adams. So Ansel Adams was walking into, you know, Yosemite National Park back in the day, and you can see the size of that tripod and camera. He would walk in there with a donkey and whatever else he had, and they used to call that camera and tripod the elephant. It was that big. He was going, you know, up into locations that now there's worn paths over creeks and who knows what. There was no path. He was just making a way and getting up and taking shots from locations that maybe, you know, some of us, you know, even struggle now to walk to, let alone with a good path. Mary Ellen Mark was an incredible female photographer doing a lot of street and portraiture sort of work. Amazing portrait stuff she did as well. So just to give you an idea too, Henry Cartier-Bresson, that camera he's got in his hand probably had 3 apertures and 3 shutter speeds, 1-speed film. Do you think he was whinging that he didn't have enough dynamic range to get his photos? And that's the sort of rubbish I can't listen to anymore. So it's like the cameras don't take the photos, people do. And you got to get that out of your head if you want to get into business of photography, because these guys and ladies are doing it with equipment that you just, you couldn't believe. So archaic, but the pictures they got were striking. Even subtle movement and pictures from Cartier-Bresson, the emotion of the war. Obviously, there's lots of other people, incredible photographers throughout history. Ansel Adams, they call him the master of light, so to speak, but he had an incredible understanding of light and tone, well beyond his years, obviously. So he just knew, and he just sensed it all. Mary Ellen Mark, again, just making the weird sort of cool in a way. So anyway, they're three, but I'd strongly recommend, if any of you want to get in the industry, it doesn't hurt. You go back and just look at what people used to do. You might get some inspiration for something, and you realise how lucky we are in the current photographic world that we have. Right, so I'm going to just start and talk about some myths. Firstly, and all the things I'm going to say in this, in my opinion, no one made my opinion for me. I made that up all on my own. So if I piss anyone off, which is highly likely sometimes, then sorry, that's just the way it is. And it's not gospel either. If you don't believe them, don't agree with me, that's absolutely fine. And there's every chance I'm wrong on some stuff. So a myth, one big one: digital changed photography. No, it didn't. Photographers changed photography, and a lot of photographers whinged and complained that digital killed them. Or there's two ways to look at that. Maybe you didn't pivot when you needed to. Maybe you ducked when you should have weaved. Who knows? But it didn't change. People had to change with it. The thing is, don't complain about it. Like there's ways, even currently during the pandemic, I'm sure, photographers went out of business, and weddings, I don't even know how you would stay in business. There's nothing they could have done. There's nothing the portrait people mostly could have done either. That's just unfortunate, totally unfortunate. But, and there's things that are going to happen in business that you can't change. Hopefully not another pandemic, but, every now and then, if something does happen, you've got to have that ability to pivot quickly. Believe it or not, YouTube is sometimes wrong. And what I mean by that, the amount of people that, for instance, I have come to the print business that say, I saw it on YouTube and they tell me how I should be setting up my files to print, or their files to print. And it's wrong. It's completely wrong. And I know that because I do it. So careful on YouTube. There's some absolutely fantastic people on there in the photographic space doing some wonderful things and offering up some really, really great advice. Others might have lots of views, but full of bulla. So just be very careful. Believe it or not, photographers do not buy your work or pay for you to photograph anything. So do not try and impress them. They're not your friends, most of them. You don't try and impress them. There's this whole thing in our industry where it's big. The communities are great. We need the community because that inspires each other. But there's got to be a point where you realise that you've got to start educating, as I keep saying, who's going to pay for who's going to buy that picture and put it on their wall? Not one photographer is going to do that. So forget them when you're planning a business. Think about the buyer and stop thinking about photographers. There's this perception that photographers just take photos. So I can tell you from my experience, I think I would, in all of my business that I do, and it's different to just being like a wedding portrait guy or a landscape guy, a commercial guy. And a lot of what I speak about today is going to be about landscape photography and selling your work, particularly because that's the space I'm in, which I did mention before, but I've got to keep reiterating that. 10% of my time I might spend taking photos, if I'm lucky, 10%. The rest of that 90% is business. It's figuring out how to move some of my pictures and creating new products, creating relationships, all those sorts of things. The big one is that you don't have to be everything all the time. Photographers for a while now have thought that They have to be the web designer, the marketing guy, the CEO, the director, the who knows who, the Photoshop guru, the printer. It's insane, honestly, because there's people that do all those jobs really well. And whilst you're starting, you can't afford that. The goal is to move into a position where you get people in positions that can actually run your business better than you can or do jobs better than you can. Okay, this is a big one. No one cares how many awards you've won, ever. I've never had someone walk into any of my galleries and go, can you just show me how many awards you've won before I buy that? No one cares. Photographers care. The general public give two shits how many awards you had. They also don't care if you belong to a professional body. I'm not saying don't enter awards and don't belong to a professional body. I'm just saying don't place the importance. My work would not win awards in Australia. I could enter all of the awards. I wouldn't win any awards, but I sell shit like the prints. So does that make me, I don't know where you're supposed to fit. And again, I'm not having to go at awards or people that enter awards. I think there's actually very good reasons to enter them, but you just have to be, you got to think about what your end result is. Is your end result to be the most awarded photographer in Australia? Or is your end result to set up a gallery and sell some work? Because if you set up a gallery and sell work, the general public will buy that stuff. The award stuff, the jury's out on if people are actually going to buy it. And it's the same belonging to the ARPP and things like that. Gotta watch myself. But there's bodies that you can be a part of, and really community groups are really good at the moment and inspiring each other and keeping each other creative and being supportive. And I think the ARPP, if we're going to belong to bodies like that, we need again, and my focus would be not educating each other. We've had enough seminars on how to use f-stops and how to better do post-production and all that shit and create more awards. We need to be educating the general public. They're going to give you all the jobs. They're going to pay for you to do your jobs. So that's only my opinion, but I can tell you no one cares. The people buying it don't care about all those things. Next one. So starting out. So starting a business, and I've done a few in this industry now. And someone once said to me, you got to start the way you want to finish. So if you want to start a business and you want to be selling, limited edition fine art photos, then you've got to think about how you build that work. Because if you start out too cheap, you'll be known as a cheap guy. And if that's what you want to do and you can figure out a model that works, there's a lot of blokes and ladies making money, not at the high end of the spectrum. There's numerous printing and framing companies out there, for instance, selling wall art, and they're not high end, but they're making really good money. So if you can figure out a model to do that, by all means do it. But you got to start the way you want to finish. For years, the best thing, and I was very lucky, and I'm extremely lucky. Ken Duncan was my uncle, and had I not worked for him for 4 years and saw the things I saw, I wouldn't have met David Oliver, who shaped my photography a lot. I wouldn't have met Peter Eastway, Leo Meyer, and I wouldn't have had the contacts I have, which is one side of it. But I also wouldn't have known what it takes to get up every day and be a photographer, be a landscape photographer. So if you can ever get the opportunity to work for someone for free, believe it or not, work for free. Like I worked for bugger all money for years, and sometimes I complain, but most of the time I thought, well, look at this, I'm in the middle of nowhere being able to take photos, help someone take photos and learn. And I think if you think you're too good for that, then maybe this is an industry for you. But you've got to, if you can assist someone, whatever it is, you'd be surprised how much you can learn in an hour watching someone rather than doing a 5-year TAFE course. Obviously, you've got to choose the genre you want to be in. So, for me, I started out wanting to do landscapes. I met David Oliver and I fell in love with taking pictures of people and weddings, and I did that for a little while. But then, there was always a thing in me that I just wanted to do landscapes, and I wanted people to buy them. So I had to make a way to make that work. But you got to be pretty clear on what you want to do, and set yourself up that way. It's not to say that if a job for me came up now as a commercial job, you know, paying good money, I'd be stupid not to take it. But I'm not going to go out and shoot weddings and I'm done with that stuff. But if I stayed in that lane and I picked that genre and I just focused on it, then I would have done it. You know, and that's what you got to do. If that's what you want to do, you got to stick in that lane, figure out, learn the industry inside out, learn how to sell, learn how to package stuff up. And I'll go more into this a bit later. Now, other thing, the biggest one, if you're wanting to get into landscapes and sell them, for instance, and fine art, build your work, be patient. Like mine took 15 years to shoot. You cannot, and the amount of people that come and say, oh, I'm a photographer now, I'm going to start selling my work, here's my website. And there's 4 pictures on there. It's just, that's that whole start the way you want to finish. That's just wanting an instant money-making thing straight away. And the photos on there, maybe get 100 photos on there, but 50 of them are shit. So it's one of those things, you can't go out every day and get great photos and then build a website and start selling. Be patient. Take the time to do it, because if you do and you get it right and someone rings you and goes, hey, have you got a picture of Sydney? Oh, no, I haven't been there. So it's really, really handy. The other one is to get an honest critic. Don't ask your mum if your photos are good. Don't ask your husband. Don't ask your wife, because they will always tell you your photos are great, honey. Well done. They're really, really great. When in actual fact, they probably suck. So I had Ken Duncan. I went when I thought I was killing it, and I took a whole bunch of prints to him one day, and I honestly had convinced myself these were good photos, and I thought they were. He just went through them and said they were all crap. Literally one, he just went crap, 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 crap. I walked out of there completely deflated, and just thinking, well, I didn't know if I wanted to take photos anymore. But the thing is, without that, like, you need someone honest. You need someone to tell you the truth. My photos did suck. They were crap. Like, they really were. I just was starting out. I couldn't have gone and sold them. They were rubbish. But, you know, if I asked my mum, she would have said they were great. So you've got to get someone that you can trust, and you've got to be prepared to listen to it too. Because, you know, and, you know, they might not be. Some of you listening, your work might be fantastic and you might be ready. But, you know, that's just something that I'd highly recommend, is get someone that you can take feedback from, and that they're really honest. And it's probably going to be someone in the industry. Do a business degree if you can. Learn how to run a business, because, as I said to you before, 10% of my job, and I'm sure if you speak to other photographers, it's the amount that you're actually shooting is very limited. The amount that you're running a business, the amount that you're figuring out how to market, the amount that you're figuring out new ideas, managing staff, you know, yeah, it's intense. So a business degree, in my opinion, or a marketing degree, something like that, would be huge. Like, I did a degree in journalism and a master's in public relations. Never used them, but I do now. I use them a lot. You know, so it's one of those things. Educate yourself. You know, we can all take the photos mostly. Like, we can get out there and take the photos. It's become the game's like this now. Everyone, as I said to you, my photos, probably most of you listening probably take better photos, but maybe I just learn how to sell them better. Diversify. So I was lucky in that I saw early on that it was going to take me a while to be able to have one business that just made me enough money to do the things I wanted to do, and get where I needed to go. So I knew that selling my prints was going to take time, and I understood that. So I got one business, and then I grew a few others. And thank goodness, because a lot of people said to me, you do too many things, you're too busy, you do too much stuff. And I was nearly listened to a lot of them. And then when COVID hit, I was like, thank God I did not listen to those people, because, you know, at least I had some things to lean back on. So I was really, really lucky. That diversifying your skill set, diversifying the things you can offer within your business is a really key point. Practice. That's the other one. So if you want to get better at anything in life, you've got to practice. You've got to be prepared to put in the time, Now, if you want to be a sportsman, you got to go out there and kick goals all day. If you want to be a cricketer, you got to go out and bowl in the nets all day. It's no different in photography. Practice gets you better. Study the weather, study all those sorts of things. The other big one is buy the gear you need when you need it or when you can afford it. Because as you know, camera gear isn't cheap. A lot of people starting out seem to think they need to have all of the gear and all of the equipment and everything all at once. And you're probably not going to use it all the time. So buy the stuff you need when you need it. If you can afford it and you're in a position to, by all means do it. And buy good stuff. Like, you know, I use those f-stop bags, which are the best bags in the world. They're incredible. I don't have to keep buying new ones. They last me 7 years each. They got different products. Andrew and the Nissi guys with the filters. They're great filters. They're going to last you a long time. The tripods, Suri tripods, they're going to last you a long time. Fuji cameras, they just get better and better. But there's gear that you need to get. Buy the good stuff. Don't get all the cheap stuff over and over again, and just make sure you focus on that. Now, if you're in business and you need to educate yourself a little bit on who is in the industry at the moment and who's actually making, if that's what you want to do and you want to get into make money. And again, I'm talking about the fine art stuff here and the landscape sort of stuff. So this is just some people that I think in Australia at the moment are setting the benchmark and are doing really, really well. Obviously, Ken had been doing this long before anyone. He doesn't, whether he's my uncle or not, I don't give a shit. He doesn't get enough credit for what he's done for this industry, for how he's positioned himself. And in Australia, we all want to knock the guy that's doing well. We want to knock the guy that started something because that's what we do, isn't it, as Australians? Ken got out there and he was selling work well before anyone else. He was going door to door with a portfolio case, and I've still got one of his first ones. He was getting pictures out and selling them to people. He made limited edition photography what it is today in Australia, and I think we should be grateful and thankful for that. And we should respect the people that have come before, and we should look at how they've done it. There's probably lessons you can take out of how they've done things. Eugene Tan, amazing guy. Like, this guy has built an incredible business down in Bondi. Not a lot of people probably know of him. It's called Aqua Bumps. My son's being a little off you go. He's built a business called Aqua Bumps down in Bondi. You know, taking a photo of Bondi Beach every single day. And, you know, he's built and a beautiful gallery. He's got books, amazing products, beautiful quality, and he does so well out of it. And I think he's another guy you all should have a look at. Wouldn't win any awards. Ken wouldn't either. I'm probably not interested either of them. Tamara Dean, she's in the real fine art world. I had her speak at Aperture last year. She's an incredible lady, does incredible work, very arty, but doing really, really well. Christian Fletcher, the Western Australian guy, you know, at the top of his game for so many reasons, someone I admire a lot. Such an amazing guy, lovely guy, so clever, and his gallery's beautiful. His work is incredible. The finishes, the way he does everything is just top notch. Murray Fredericks, like going out to Lake Eyre and doing, you know, the Vanity series. If you haven't seen it, go and look at it. Like, incredible stories behind that, and the commitment to just the craft is incredible. You know, Mark Gray is another guy. I think he was like an internet marketing guy and has built like an incredible business down in Victoria, and doing amazing stuff. Tom Putt is also down that way. He's down in Mornington. Tom's a great guy, a great personality, great for the industry. He does a lot of tours and workshops and stuff like that, but he's selling work in a gallery and producing really great stuff. Matt Pearson's got a beautiful gallery down in the Rocks. An amazing gallery, actually. I've walked past it right where the art precinct there is in the Rocks, and it's absolutely beautiful. Again, he's doing really well there. Paul Arnold's up in Darwin. Paul's a bit of an innovator, a bit of a different guy. He's been doing a lot of aerial stuff before anyone else was up in the top end. He's been doing that for about 15 years out of helicopters up there and light aircraft. And some of the things he's been able to capture and do is quite incredible. So that's a few people just, if you ever think you want to get into the industry and you can't, there's always people that you can go that have. And there's no reason why you can't be the person that does next. Like, it's all up here. It's all how you do it. It's all educating yourself and looking to people like this in Australia who are doing it, who do it well. And it's okay to say that. It's okay to say they're really doing well. And thank goodness they're part of our industry. Because, as I say, all boats rise with the high tide. Once the ego gets out of most of them, then we can all appreciate each other. So thinking differently within business. So as I said before, like diversifying your income. So if you're in, I keep talking about landscapes because what I know, but if you're in landscapes, like diversifying, so I've come up with, I now do tea towels and cushions and beach towels, and they go really well. Like, I never thought I'd be in the tea towel cushion industry, but I'm setting up a wholesale company now, going to sell all these sort of products to other photographers and artists in Australia. It's just, and that's another income stream, another business, because I tested it. And you got to sometimes just go have the balls to test something, see if it works. Last lockdown, when the first one happened, for instance, I came up with an idea. I have a notepad next to my bed and a pen, obviously. Sometimes I forget the pen. And I write down ideas in the middle of the night, sometimes before I go to sleep, sometimes when I wake up, mostly about 3:30 in the morning or 23, strangely enough. But yeah, I had one last year to do 100 for 100. So I sold 100 prints for $100. And the first one I did was 5 kookaburras in the tree in the snow that I shot down in Thredbo when I was on a tour down there. Just a simple photo, 5 kookaburras freezing their asses off in the snow. But the thing is, it was 100 prints for $100, but the trick is how you do all that. So I could have just put a page up on my site and said, here you go, 100 prints for $100. And I thought about doing that, and then I thought, hold on, what if I put the 100 prints for $100 up and make them essentially see if they want to have fries with that? And they did. So I sold the 100 prints in 7 days, all of them gone, 7 days. But the thing was, the people didn't just buy the print for $100. They framed it, they got a bigger one, they got an acrylic, all the options, bigger print only, all that sort of stuff. So the revenue I created far exceeded what I initially thought, just by pivoting a tiny bit on a commonly used McDonald's sales tool. So there's always ways that you can think if you come up with an idea, and that might be in the wedding portrait market, you've got to think differently. There's always little chinks within sales that you can try and figure out how to best make more money. If you're in landscapes and fine arts, what I do is study the furniture that's in Europe now. Paint colours, interior design trends that are in Europe now, because next year they'll be here. So if I'm going to be doing that now, and I know that all these raw timber tables that everyone's using, 2 years ago they were going to be out, that would mean that stupid green pictures, no one wanted them. So I should have stopped shooting those, but I didn't. People wanted softer pastels colours, so like simple tones, because now the most popular paint in houses is white on white, raw timber. So you've got to think about all those things come into play, because if you're trying to push, bright shiny prints sometimes, unless you're a Ken Duncan or you're a Eugene Tan or someone that's got that humongous name and brand, you're trying to push a triangle into a square essentially, because you're trying to tell people what they need in their house, but it doesn't go with anything. So always consider those sorts of things. So that's thinking a little bit differently, and that pushes into your marketing. And, if you're doing little mock-ups, then you've got to think about, are the mock-ups relevant? Are they what people are using now? Or are they furniture from 3 years ago that look like they're in a spaceship? So we've got to think about all those sorts of things. The NFT market, I'm huge on that now. I decided last lockdown to do a course on crypto because I don't know why, but it became an obsession for a little while. So I'm a bit into that side of things, but this new NFT market, if you haven't heard of it, it's all based in and around the cryptocurrency, these non-fungible tokens. It's It's hard to figure out exactly what's going on, but I can tell you, if you get it right, they're really, really, really good. But again, that's just thinking differently and diversifying the income. There's ways. It's still imagery, still your photos. I'm still trying to figure out how I can monetize all those images I got sitting on hard drives. So tea towels, cushions, beach towels, umbrellas, scarves, sky's the limit. They're sitting on a hard drive, figure out a way to get them out into the public. Now, the big one, marketing. So the amount of photographers that I talk to and have talked to over the years who want to sell their work, they've got a website, they post to social media every day, and they're just not selling anything. Well, like if I could slap some people, I would, because you're not going to sell stuff just by putting a website up and posting some stuff on social media. Sorry to burst your bubble, but it doesn't work. It goes back to that whole thing where we've got to build the work. The work takes years and years and years and years. Once you're at that point, you do got to be on social media. I hate it. I'm not a social media person. You probably see I go in and out of posting. My marketing guy, I have a guy, actually, Trent runs all my marketing for me. And I'm lucky I'm in a position I can do that. And he's incredible, the content he produces for me. But he runs the ads. The ads are the key. So if you're not on social media, then you're just not in the game anymore. You have to be on there. As much as I detest it, as much as I'm not consistent as I should be, and all those sorts of things, it's just what you need to be doing. And as I say, I know enough and have learned enough about ads and social media ads, how to implement them, how to run them, to a degree. So I know enough now because I've had a lot of shonky people work for me, and some companies that I've paid to do stuff for me who just had no idea what they were doing, or maybe as much idea as I did. So when you find someone, like I've got someone like Trent who is on the ball, he understands exactly what he's doing, he knows how to do it, and he sets my ads and we can see what we're getting. The Santa photos, I'll give you an idea. I spent last year $1,100 on Facebook ads, and I sold 900 Santa photos. So instantly I can see a result. Not every campaign we run is like that, and some don't work, some bomb. Bridge climb, I did a thing with bridge climb last year. We had incredible success with our ads. Had I not done the ads, and had I just, and people are like, I can't afford to spend $1,000 on ads. You don't want to know what I spend on Facebook ads in a year. It'll give you a heart attack. But it works. It works. If you're willing to spend money, you'll make it back if your product's good and if your message is good. And that comes into the next things about building a brand. So people don't want to, they want to buy the photos from me because of who I am and what I do. Sure, they want a pretty picture on their wall, but they're going to buy it because they got some kind of relationship with me. And the thing is, we've got to try and build that. And that's what Trent does through the video content, through the branding. It's all about building a brand over time. And the landscape stuff, what sells a photo? Well, most of the people that buy photos are female. We know that from all the research we've done over the years. And most photographers probably tell you that, I'd imagine. I don't know, that's what I've found. People that come into the gallery, the females make the decision, the females buy it. So I don't waste time on the men when they walk in. I go straight to the wife. Or the salespeople might do that as well. But it's always a good thing. They're making the decisions. Most of the sales that come through online, females. So that tells us one thing. So we know who we're selling to. The other thing is, what sells a photograph is the emotion. It's either a connection to that place. Specific, it might be Terrigal Beach, and they've been there, or they got engaged there, or they had a great summer there, or they live here, or whatever it might be. You've got to find that connection. And that all ties back into how you market yourself. And if you're selling emotion, you're selling a photograph. It's not just a photograph. It's got to be something bigger. And the trick is creating that message and then pointing it to exactly the right people. And there's never been a point in history. I used to do magazine ads, how the hell do you know if they work? Unless you ask every client that rings up, how did you hear about us? And if they tell you, which we used to have a sheet on the wall, I used to say you have to ask people when they ring, how did you hear about us? And we used to have a tally of the ways people heard about us. Nowadays, I can just go into the ads manager in the back of Facebook and have a look who buys from us anytime I want. I can see exactly who the most profitable section of society are. I can see where they live, everything. And there's never been a point in history that we can directly market to people so finitely. And that's why you need to be in that game. Quality, not quantity. So that's a big thing. So don't be pushing out rubbish stuff all the time. And I'll fall into that trap because it's hard to create new content when you're locked down, isn't it? So, but it's always a good thing to focus on producing quality, not quantity. So really good stuff. Don't just push out a photo because you think it's time to post something, because it's not always like that. Try and work with brands wherever you can. I know that's not necessarily a starting out thing, but you know, it's always, you can go do things again for free. Nothing hurts doing something for free. You might get a gig with a clothing company or an adventure company, and you're out taking your photos, or a bag company, or you know, Missy Filters. Andrew will give you all Missy Filters stuff, and I'll give you all free prints. But you know what I mean? You could get in touch with brands, and that all that does. So if I work with a brand, I put it on my site, and it elevates. You become a bit more of an authority, I guess. So if people come to your site, oh, he works with that, and that, and that, and that, and that. So it makes you look a bit better. So it's not a thing where you're big noting. It's about creating a brand, and it's okay to do that. It's okay to say that you're working with a brand, because you are. Now, build followers. So that's the key, is because that's your audience, you know. And again, don't build followers of photographers. Photographers aren't going to buy your stuff, okay? If you want to get into the industry, don't build followers. Don't set your ads targeting photographers unless you're going to do workshops and you want to teach them, okay? Because they're not going to buy anything. It's a waste of money. So what you want to be doing is trying to figure out, so if you're setting ads, if you're building followers and you're getting out there and you're liking and following people, maybe try liking interior designers. Ooh, guess what? They're going to put their stuff on the wall in some house that they're doing. Or maybe go follow some architects, or maybe follow some, I don't know, builders, or some, whoever it might be that is different to photographers. So we're all got to stop thinking that photographers, because they're not going to buy anything. And all these other people out in society will buy your stuff. And there'll be avenues that pop up. It's like wedding photographers, you know, going out to venues, to Michael Hill Jewelers to sell the rings, or to the flower companies, and forming those relationships, building followers, because if they see you and you're all working together, and those social media things start to grow. And the email lists are huge. Like, I mean, you know, Ken, Eugene, Mark Gray, all these people, they've got, you know, I've got a pretty solid list now, nothing like those guys, but it's, you know, that just takes time to build. And these guys, when emails are big, and emails are still sending out an email. I can send an email, you know, for the Santa photos, for instance, because we've got qualified clients, we keep them on the database. Anyone that's in touch with you that buys something, that put them on your list. Ask them, obviously you have to, but put them on your list, because they're clients. And if they're not clients now, they're going to be at some point potentially. So if you can sign people up to a list, sign them up. As I say, with Santa photos, we sent an email before we did any ads this year, and I think overnight sold 350 spots from one email. So I mean, that's a different thing, because it's a very specific audience. Okay, it's different if I sent one to my audience with a print sale. I might not get 350 sales, but you know, the Santa thing works, or the CFL one might be a little bit different. All those sorts of things. So Aperture is very good. If we send an email to the Aperture audience, if we're doing a new Aperture, that would work really well. So you've got to build those, and it's super, super important. EDMs, email lists are not done. So focus on those too. We've gone a bit over, haven't we? So I'll go quickly through this. I'm nearly done. So standing out, so quality. Always quality is going to go over everything else. So if you're going to think you want to go start at the markets, you got to work backwards. So if you're going to work at the markets, you're going to sell stuff for $20. How many of those do you have to sell to have an, unless you, so you got to sell, you know, one $20 product, or you go to a gallery and sell something for $2,000. So you know how many $20 ones you got to sell to make the 2,000. It's that old story. So people will always see quality, and you've always got to, and if they can't see it, then it's your job to educate them. So when they walk into my gallery, I'll make sure every staff that works there or me, they're educating people all the time on the quality of the products, the quality of everything. And hopefully when they walk in, they see it, the way it looks. And it's a point of difference too. It's why they'll buy your work. Why? Is it because you're not at the markets? There's nothing wrong with being in the markets if that's where you're at and that's what you've got to do. That's what you've got to do. But you've got to get people to buy it still. So why are they going to buy it from you? And it's all little touches. It's all like when people receive your work, what are they getting? When it arrives, what does it look like? All those sorts of things. And you've got to keep changing, keep evolving, keep thinking of new ways to, you know, reinvent yourself, stay fresh all the time and keep adapting. It's right through this COVID thing has been an interesting time for all of us, I'm sure, and particularly our industry. It's been very tricky. There's been some great times through COVID and some really shit times, but you've got to keep going if you're in it, and you keep changing, keep adapting to the situations that are put in front of you. Otherwise, you know, there's only one way out, that other way. Quickly. Okay, what to charge? I get asked this more than any other question. Okay, so I'm buying this from you and how much I sell it for? Well, I can't always help it. There's no like double it in half. I don't know. Like you got to charge and figure out what you need to make your business work. And that's why I get back to selling $20 things at a market or $2,000 ones in a gallery. You've got to figure out what it costs you to rent your space, to fill your car up with petrol, to insure your car, to buy your camera gear, buy your hard drives, buy your computer, buy your storage space, buy your Dropbox, pay for your website, pay for your hosting, pay for your blog. Add all that up every year, put it over there, and then figure out how many things you have to sell to make that money back. Then once you've made that back, figure out how much you have to make minimum wage. Then once you figure that out, figure out how much you need to sell to make a better wage. And so you just got to price it out. It's literally just figuring it out on a spreadsheet, and it will be very clear. So I know for a week I've got to sell, you know, between us, who knows, I've got to sell more than $17,000 of stuff before I get out of bed every week, you know, to break even. And then, you know, you got to, it all adds up because you've got your rent and everything and staff. And so, but you've got to understand that, because then you've got a goal, then you know what you got to achieve, and you know every day what you got to sell in order to meet or exceed your goal. And it's always important, you've got to cost out your products. If you're not costing out your products and yourself per hour, and weddings and portraits are particularly hard for this, because you go out and shoot a wedding, you charge $2,000, the wedding goes for $10, say that's $200 an hour, you're getting paid just to shoot it. But then you go home and edit for 10 hours, and so you only get $100 an hour. Then you take out all of your camera gear and your fuel and your accommodation if you have to stay somewhere, and the clothes that you wore. You might be lucky to make $20 an hour. It just depends. You've got to, that's all about fixing those little chinks, but you've got to understand it. Then you can figure out what you got to charge. And here's a Bruce Lee quote just to finish. So you've got to have a goal. Goal is not always meant to be reached. It's often so simple as something to aim for. So, and that's it in a nutshell. I think if you want to get into this industry and you want to start a business, or you're in a business and you want to make it better, then you've got to have goals. You've got to have something that you can strive to reach. And as he says, it doesn't mean that you have to get there and get it. It just means that you're at least in the right trajectory, I guess. Anyway, sorry, we did go a bit over, Andrew.
That's totally fine. Fantastic, Glenn. Thank you so much. I think there was a lot of comments in chat just agreeing with lots of things you were saying, and I think people appreciated the honesty and some of the things you've been honest about that you've learned in the industry. And I have to say, Glenn, it inspires me that you run all these businesses and do it so well. They're just so professionally run, and it's a hard thing to have your hat in so many different things. And you seem to do it quite well. So it was great to hear from you.
Oh, anytime, mate. And thank you, mate. You've always been a great supporter of me and the Missy guys, and it's the least I can do. The least.
Well, if anyone has any questions they'd love to ask Glenn, please feel free to turn on your microphone, turn on your camera. Please ask some questions. I'm sure there's some questions out there, so please jump in and do that now.
Should I stop sharing my screen?
Yeah.
How do I do that? Oh, here we go. There we go. Stop sharing.
Cool.
Done.
So while we're waiting to see if anyone's got some questions, there were a couple. Someone did want you to maybe mention about your bridge tours a little bit. Do you just want to give people a brief summary of what as well?
Yeah, so that was interesting. So bridge tours, basically what happened was they contacted me last year, and they this was through another contact I've made. So it's all about meeting people and connections and who you know and who you forget you don't know. But yeah, basically what we can do is a full day or a half day where we go up on the bridge, and I take 20 up to 20 photographers up onto the bridge. The full day has a classroom session. You go onto the southeast pylon in the middle of the day, and we finish at sunset in the very top of the bridge, which is quite an experience. It's the first time ever that they've allowed photographers to go onto the bridge. I mean, you can go up there with news crew if you're media, but to take the general public up. So I've got new dates coming for those mid next week on my site. So you'll be able to, at glennmckinnon.com, you'll be able to check out that. Yeah, and then there's also Vivid next year. We were supposed to do it this year, but so you'll be able to photograph Vivid, not from the bridge, but from the southeast pylon, which is great because you can use a tripod, and it's an angle no one else has really ever done.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, that's something in your approach, Glenn. You're always thinking outside the box on what's something that I can do that people haven't done before. And I think that's what's led you to grow some great businesses as well. It's a great approach.
Oh, yeah, you have to. But I'll tell you, it's who you meet and those relationships you form in business that are the key. It's really important, as you know.
Yeah, definitely. So another question was, I think everyone enjoyed the Fujifilm video at the start, and there are a couple of questions about where was that shot?
Yeah, so I took the guys from Fuji. Megan Lewis did that. Darren from WA and good old Kevin Cooper. So that was over in around Queenstown. So we did a bit, the stuff you would have seen up high, that was Skipper's Canyon. There was some other stuff out in Milford Sound that we did as well. So yeah, all that area.
Awesome. And I think there's always a bit of interest in NFTs as well. There was a question about, do you know any courses out there that may have been helpful for you, so people could maybe learn a little bit about NFTs?
I haven't done an NFT course. I did the crypto trading stuff. So I did a trading course on crypto. But the NFTs, there's heaps. But again, I think just be really careful. As with any of these things, there can be some shonkies out there. I'd head over to a guy I always listen a lot to, Gary Vee. If you go to Gary Vee's site, he has a lot of information on NFTs on there, and I believe there's some people that he's dealt with that offer courses, and I'd be more inclined to go through someone like that.
Awesome. A question I had for you, Glenn, was obviously running so many businesses. How do you work out where to spend your time? Is it based on the marginal turnover of the business, or if you're growing a business, you invest more time in that? But with so many hats, how do you decide where you go and how you do it?
Sleep's overrated. No, yeah, it's tricky. I've been lucky this year and last year in a sense, because lucky in that when COVID hit, the most heartbreaking thing that my son actually said to me was like, which made me reassess a lot of stuff that I do actually. So he said to me, I'm so glad COVID's here. And I was like, what? How can you be like, he goes, because you don't go away anymore. And I was like, oh shit. So it made me have a really big think about A, how much I worked, and B, where I donate my time. But in essence, look, for me, the last 2 years, I sort of lost two businesses, essentially. So the tours and Aperture weren't running. So really all I've got to focus on now is Creative for Life and my personal brand, essentially. Santa Photos kick over, that does itself. But the other thing is, I think, is having good people. Like I'm lucky at Creative for Life. The staff I have there pretty much run that. I don't have to really do much there. And as you know, if you've got good people, that helps. Same in a gallery. If I've got someone there that can work there and run it for me and do all those little things that are annoying, then that's easier. But yeah, when it's just about dividing time. When there's tours on and I can't be here, then, in the past I've had people that I've employed to run the things that need running when I'm not there. And that's really all you can do. It's not about me trying to do 5 businesses at once. It's me making sure there's people in each of those things that can be me if I'm not there.
Yeah.
Which is the key. It's hard to trust people, but you got to.
Yeah, exactly. It's the only way you can, I guess, grow to an extent where you've got those businesses that can run themselves, is you need to have trust in those people and get the right people to do it. So
yeah, and I'm very lucky with the staff I have, so it's good.
That's great. Anyone want to jump on and ask Glenn a live question?
All good.
Anyone?
I haven't got a question, but I just want to say that, Glenn, you're extremely generous with your information. You've been supporting me over the last couple of months, setting up my business.
Oh, my little friend, Ola.
Yes, been very good. I really appreciate all your help, and I'm sure you've done that for other people as well.
I do, mate. No, it's a pleasure to help you, mate. You're a champion. And you got a good car too.
Thank you.
Andrew, can I just ask Glenn a question?
Go for it.
Glenn, you talked about, well, obviously you've got Trent that does your social media and things like that for you.
Yeah.
You spoke about Facebook. You didn't mention any others. Is it only Facebook that you put yourself out on?
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram are connected. I guess I should have said that. So, I mean, yeah, for what I do, I haven't found any other things that, really work. It's LinkedIn, I tried for a while. It's very expensive and, uber professional people, I guess. So, but, you really got to think about where your people are spending most of their time when they are on some kind of platform. And if you look at the statistics, well, they're either going to be on Facebook or Instagram. So that's where you need to be.
Yeah.
TikTok and all these Snapchat, I don't even have them. I don't know how to use them, but and you think about your audience too. They're not on those platforms.
No, fair enough too.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
That's why, yeah. You're welcome.
If you've got a question, just unmute yourself before you try and ask it. Glenn, I just wanted to also ask about Creative for Life. There's probably some photographers listening that that would love to, I guess, get into selling prints. Can you just give them a rundown quickly of how the process works and how you can, I guess, ship it out? And it's very easy for someone to sell a print online and make money worldwide, and you can help facilitate that.
Yeah, basically. So, most of our clients the bigger clients that sell work. So they'll just send us orders directly. We print, frame, or make acrylics, whatever it is that they're after, and ship directly. And that takes a huge thing out. They're not having to get stuff shipped back to them, check it, and then ship it out. So their clients are getting stuff quicker. The process is easy. Some of our bigger clients, we store the images at work. So they just send an order with a code. We're just doing a big deal with Tracks magazine very soon, which will be launched next week. And for instance, we'll store all their stuff. They'll send through orders. We print it, frame it, ship it. All in 3 weeks, it'll be there, usually, roughly, depending on the workload, but we'll let them know. But yeah, so it's a very easy process. It's not hard to do.
Yeah, so if you are getting into selling prints, give Glenn's business a call. It's a great thing to be able to, I guess, make money selling prints worldwide, and Glenn can help facilitate that. So,
100%.
Yeah. Any other questions?
It's probably more of a statement. You said earlier that Emotion sells prints. I see an image from Lake Leiden, Slovenia. I get a warm feeling over me and wish I was there right now. One of my very favourite places in the whole world.
Oh, it's good, isn't it? Yeah, that's a beautiful place, mate. That one, are you talking about my one that was on the thing?
Yeah, well, both.
Yeah,
actually.
the one with the frozen thing. Yeah, so that was an amazing day. That I never thought I'd really sell that in Australia, but it sold quite well. And I think people I think the other thing is you got to sometimes put the stories that, like the day that I got that photo was an incredible day. And once people read the story about how you took the photo, where it actually is, how you got there, and it's in the middle of minus 25 degrees or something, it all adds up. So yeah, the emotion does help. And people are drawn to imagery, it's whether it's a painting or a photograph, the emotion is the thing that links it all.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I can't wait till I get back to Slovenia again.
Yeah, it's incredible. Neither can I, actually. It's such a beautiful place. Untouched, like for photographers too. There's just so much to do there.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So Glenn, where's the first place you're going to travel to once you can travel again?
I actually think I'm going to take my little guy to. I was actually just before this lockdown hit. I'd booked him and I a trip to New Zealand, to the South Island. We had a motorhome and we were doing 10 days through the South Island. And 3 days before we were due to fly out, the borders shut. So then I was going up to Byron Bay to a mate's place, and we got to Cross Harbour, and New South Wales locked down, so we had to turn around and go back. So I promised him this trip to New Zealand. So I think it'll be somewhere like that. And
awesome.
but somewhere bigger. Look, next year, in April, I was supposed to be Ethiopia. I'm supposed to be back to New Zealand twice in autumn, and then Kamchatka. I was supposed to be there in August. Kenya in July. So if all that goes ahead, I'll be a busy boy. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. And Glenn, another question from chat. What's your favourite photography location in Australia?
In Australia, Wombrel. No, that's where I live. Favourite? Favourite place I've probably been to, but I didn't get to take. I took one photo up there, but most incredible place probably Arnhem Land. And I've got to get back there. I was there with Ken years and years ago, and he left and drove the car back to. He flew back to Sydney, and I had to drive back. So I went out to that way, and out in the Arnhem Land over the East Alligator River there is just ridiculously beautiful. So it's a pretty cool spot.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, amazing spot. Well, last chance. We'll just another minute or two. If you've got a live question, please jump on and ask Glenn. If you wanted to watch this again, it will be available on YouTube. The Nissi Filters Australia YouTube channel, you'll be able to watch it again. And next week we won't have a webinar, but the week after we've got one of the photographers we've been working with for a long time. His name is Dylan Toe. He's an amazing photographer, evolved photographer on Instagram. Amazing, interesting guy as well. He runs an emergency department in his spare time. So he's very busy, and but he is just one of Australia's best photographers too. So that'll be on the 18th. So make sure you jump on our mailing list to hear about that. But last chance to chat to Glenn tonight. If you've got a question, jump on in the next 2 minutes.
I can have a beer now. I didn't want to have beer before I did it.
I think it's beer time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you. It's been amazing.
Oh, you're welcome, Sam. No worries at all. Thanks for listening.
No questions, but a fellow coastie, so I know where you are.
Are you? Are you on the coast?
Yeah. So I saw you when you were at Ken Duncan when you had your exhibition there. So remember seeing you talk. So so I just want to pop in and say, hi and thank you. Appreciate tonight. It's very inspiring and educational.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime, Sam. Thanks for stopping in.
And go and enjoy a beer.
I will. See ya.
Thanks, Glenn. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, Sandra, Dan there. Hello, Sandra.
Yeah. I can really recommend Creative for Life for their prints.
I know, you've been great. Your stuff's amazing too. Well done.
Oh, I'm on the next stage. Glenn, we'll have a chat next week.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Okay. Keep safe.
You too, Sandra. Look after yourself.
And I just wanted to say, Glenn, it was just an amazing. I'm Steph. I've got the lion photo up there. It was just a wonderful evening. So thank you, and thanks for your honesty.
Yeah.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for taking it the right way. You never know sometimes, but you're very welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. It was awesome.
No worries, Simone. You're welcome. Thank you.
Another coastie.
Oh, there you go. Good on the coasties. Go the coasties. Yeah. See ya. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy your beer.
I will.
All right. Well, we might wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Glenn. It was so great to hear from you. Really appreciate the inspiring messages, and I think you've really just started people's mind ticking over about what they can do in their business to, I guess, take it to the next level, and how to diversify and how to do things just differently to make an impact in their business. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, mate. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. We'll be back on the 18th.
See you guys.